Hey now everybody, welcome back. Brand new Take Aim Outdoor podcast. This week, excited as always, I have Josh Dahlke on, who is the VP of content for Huntstand. We talk about all the new features from Huntstand, and we also talk about an app you guys have probably heard of before called Scoutlook, and we talk about they've actually merged. So we've talked about all the complications and all the stuff that has gone into that merger, and how now Huntstand is your one-stop shop for Scoutlook and Huntstand. So hope you guys enjoy the show. All right, guys, we are live, brand new Take Aim podcast, and as always, excited to get a new show out, and this week's no exception. And this week we have Josh on from Huntstand, and if you guys have not seen, or probably have seen, I should say, the Huntstand app, but you can download it iOS and Android as well. But Josh, thanks for being here today and telling us what's going on with the new and improved Huntstand.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, I'm excited to be on. It's amazing how many podcasts you've recorded over the years, and I'm just glad to be a part of one of them.
Yeah, not a problem. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did all I could right there to avoid the last name because I knew I was going to mess it up for you.
Yeah, I noticed. It's all good. It's a weird name.
But anyways, Josh, give us a little bit of kind of rundown, like what you do for Huntstand, and then let's get into kind of some of the stuff that has recently happened with Huntstand and the app.
Yeah, it's been a big year for Huntstand, and so my roots come from, at least in the hunting industry. I worked for a magazine called North American Hunter for about 5 years, and I transitioned from North American Hunter over to one of the very first hunting mobile app companies called Scoutlook. And Scoutlook and Huntstand, another mobile app company, were competitors for close to 10 years. And about a year ago, just in terms of trying to figure out how to scale our business at Scoutlook, we decided to go through an exploratory process to see if we could identify any potential partners in the space. So rather than fighting, joining forces and making something even bigger than what we already had. And so, long story short, that's what worked out with Huntstand. Scoutlook merged with Huntstand. It was official late last year, so in Q4 of 2019, and now we're just running full bore as partners, completely aligned. So the Scoutlook app actually doesn't exist anymore. We've moved everything under the Huntstand name, and we've just been pedal to the metal ever since the merger.
Now, Josh, if you were already on the Scoutlook app, did your kind of, let's say, your profile and all that information you guys or the individual had, did all that get kind of merged over to the Huntstand right away, or how did that work?
Yeah, so what we did was we spent a lot of time before actually flipping the switch to make sure that all the user information, save locations, etc., that our Scoutlook community had built up over the years, we made sure that those would migrate into the Huntstand app. So when we did flip the switch, essentially users went into Scoutlook, they were notified that they had to migrate into Huntstand, and it was a seamless process overall. Basically, you'd go into Huntstand, and all your Scoutlook information would be brought in as what we call a hunt area in Huntstand. And so you'd be able to go in there under that hunt area. It was just called your Scoutlook hunt area. And right in there, you'd find all the information that you had saved in your Scoutlook account. And just for those of you out there who may have gone through that migration, I just wanted to give you a quick update and let you know that one of the things we will be working on this year is giving you the ability to move your saved locations and information from that Scoutlook hunt area into some of your other new Huntstand hunt areas to make it more easy for you to manage those just in a more organized, sensible manner. Because getting into how Huntstand works, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's a mapping, weather, game logging. It's a multifaceted hunting app that essentially allows you to use a lot of different features to plan your hunts, keep track of your game observations, and just make more efficient use of your time in the field. And we call it digital scouting. It allows you to sit down at home and really put the puzzle pieces together and figure out where you want to hunt, when you want to hunt, and go in more strategically so that you are making the most of your time. And so with Huntstand, the way we have things organized is you go into the app and you create a hunt area. And so think of a hunt area as like your home base, or just an area where you hunt that has a home base that you go out of. It could be a cabin, it could be a place where you camp on public land, but it's an area that you have several different tree stands or ground blinds or just properties associated with, where you would call that your hunt area. A good example would be is if you're a whitetail hunter and you have a particular property that you hunt or a piece of public land. You operate out of that area when you go there to hunt. You might have multiple stands, you might move stands around, but you call that your hunt area. And so you associate all your data that you feed into the app with that hunt area. Maybe you go out west. If you're from the Midwest or from the East, you go on a western hunting trip, and maybe you're hunting antelope, and you stay in some crappy motel for $50 a night. That's your home base, but that's your hunt area. So you're hunting antelope in maybe a 50, 100 square mile area. It just makes it really easy to keep track of everything that's relevant to the areas you hunt.
Okay. That's pretty interesting and pretty detailed.
Sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure. So, which I'm looking at it right now, trying to figure this out, but I think I got it. So, yeah, that is a pretty cool feature. What along with the Scoutlook side, Josh, would you say is for the people on the Hunstand side that were there, what would you say is some of those features from Scoutlook that you guys brought over for those users that are new and improved or something different that they didn't have before?
So for Scoutlook users that migrated into the Huntstand ecosystem, what's interesting is that because we were fierce competitors for a number of years, and we're all familiar with the term "great minds think alike," well, we did have a lot of overlapping features between Scoutlook and Huntstand. A great example is one of our most utilized features. It's our wind maps. So in Scoutlook, it was called Scent Cone. In Huntstand, it's called Hunt Zone, at least when you're talking about big game hunting. So we have visual wind maps that actually show you hour by hour where your scent stream is going to blow relative to a precise location. So we had that in Scoutlook. We also have that in Huntstand. Weather forecasting for pinpoint locations, had it in Scoutlook, also have it in Huntstand. But Huntstand also had started to roll out a number of features that Scoutlook didn't have. So for the Scoutlook user who moved into Huntstand, you got a whole buffet of new features to feed on as a hunter, which features that I've used religiously ever since the merger. For instance, we launched Huntstand Pro last fall, which gives you 3D mapping. That's an incredible feature. So you can actually go to a satellite view of a property that you want to hunt or a piece of public land, and you can, as we say, you can fly through the property in a 3D view. So I'm not just talking about tilting the flat map like you've been able to do for years with like Google, but I'm talking you can go through and actually see a visual like 3D representation of the terrain, almost like you're flying in an airplane or a drone. So you can,
that's pretty
let's say, fly. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can see things that normally you would have to have boots on the ground to see. Let's say you're flying around the edge of a woodlot on a field edge. You can see trails coming in and out of the woods as you go around in that 3D view that maybe you'd be able to see if it was just a flat aerial view, but maybe you wouldn't. And even just little nuances like slight cuts in the edges where, hey, maybe that'd be a good spot to put a tree stand or a ground blind where you have a little bit more cover, that sort of thing. And if you're hunting in bigger country out west, we all know that you can run into some precarious situations if you're not really getting a good idea of what the terrain is that you're going to go up against. And with the 3D view, you can look around and say, okay, I need to go from my camp to this glassing knob. What's going to be the best way for me to get there without having to bust my ass? And you can see that versus just having to more so estimate by looking at terrain or topographic lines.
And those lines on the 3D, Josh, those are all there, like your markers, lines, shapes, all that will kind of go through with you as, like you called it, flying through that area, right? If that's what I understand.
Yeah, so you can save pins in the Huntstand app for just about anything imaginable. Tree stand, a ground blind, a parking spot, an access point, a trail, whatever you would want to save, just like you would on a traditional GPS unit. And you can actually use your phone as a GPS unit with the Huntstand app. In fact, we recently just launched offline caching, so you can access all of your saved location data and your maps when you don't have cell service now, which is hugely beneficial. A lot of the country does have cell service now, especially in the whitetail range, but some of those remote areas, it's really nice to be able to use your phone to navigate without cell service and also tap into some of that information that you have saved. When I say information, I'm talking about being able to log different deer activity or even manage your trail cameras through the app. You can go in and see trail camera images in the app from specific camera sites and the correlating weather conditions to when the photos were snapped. All those things you can work together. So like with the 3D mapping, you can not only fly through a property to get a really good view of what it actually looks like at ground level, but as you begin to save information, that's all right there with you, so you can get a well-rounded approach to how you're going to hunt.
Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah, I'm actually a little bit kind of taken back with how much stuff is on this app. It's way more than actually the last time I looked at it, probably because of the merger and some of the stuff I didn't just notice before or haven't been on since, I should say. But holy cow, there's so many things. But that's a really neat thing for guys is trail cameras and just being able to identify that and tracking those and some of the deer movement that goes with that, and just even remembering, if you're lucky enough to hunt a bigger piece of property, just remembering where the heck you put 20 trail cameras on 350 acres.
Yeah, it's for somebody first coming into the app, it can be a little bit overwhelming if you try to take it all on at once. But the cool part about it is we have things broken out in a manner that you can kind of take baby steps if you want to. So you don't have to immediately jump in and start using everything A to Z. If you want to just jump in and see what the weather is going to be, you can do that. If you want to look at an aerial map, you can do that. But if you want to get into more detailed features like the trail camera management, we make it easy to do it all kind of one step at a time. And the more it's one of those situations where you get what you give. So the more information you feed in and the more locations you save and the more you become invested in it, the bigger rewards you're going to get, because it's going to help you uncover some things and some patterns and strategies that otherwise you probably would have just had to pull out of your brain and your memory. So it makes it way more efficient for you to keep track of what you're doing and make better decisions on the fly.
Yeah, for sure. I can't believe. Let me back up just a second, Josh, and I apologize because I missed the fact that you had said that about the cell service and and being able to store some of that data and being able to go back and look at it if you don't have that, which is really like a kudos feature, and that really gives you like an awesome sense of like a safe mind to be able, like, I still have this even though we don't have cell service, and that is just a requirement to me now if you're going to be using one of these apps. That's mandatory, so that's an awesome feature as well. And another thing that, like, I really appreciate, and I kind of always equate this just because I'm a whitetail hunter, but I love being able to, which I know big game hunters do this too, but I love being able to check the weather in one spot and the moon phase in one spot, which you guys offer both of those. Like, just like you said, you can log in or open the app and tab that one button and it's right there, which is super easy.
Yeah, the weather is a huge part of it. Obviously, there are a lot of different places where you can get your weather information or your solunar information for sunrise, sunset, moon phases, and that sort of thing. And I know that a lot of folks still do use multiple apps to get multiple things, but we have worked tirelessly over the years to create a system where it genuinely is a one-stop shop, and in every feature that we build into the app, we spend a great deal of time researching and figuring out how we're going to source information and data. So when you come here to use the app and you use it for weather forecasting, you are getting, I mean, the folks calling the shots here at Huntstand, we are hunters. Personally, I hunt probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 or more days a year. And so I rely on this. So being part of this team, and same with my cronies here who hunt, like, we use this. So we want it to work as good as possible. Like, we own this app. We don't want to have to go somewhere else to get information that we provide in here. So we go to great lengths to make sure we're getting the best data that we can because we use it personally. So, like, weather forecasting, like you mentioned, is a great example. Why open 4 different apps to view a map, to get a weather forecast, to see the sunrise time, check property lines or landowner information, or why pull out a plat book, or why go to a separate map for public land? We have all of that in one spot, and I think we've done a pretty damn good job of getting really good data that people can rely on.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I think is really neat is, again, Josh, it's so, certain things are really simple, and your weather one is really simple on here. Not that it's not high-tech, but just the layout, I mean, it's simple. You guys have a 3-day, a current, and even the current tells you the last time it was updated. So, like, today for me, it was updated at 1:42 p.m. So, like, 12 minutes ago, I just got the most recent update to weather. Then it gives you, like, a 3-day hour-by-hour breakdown, and then it will give you a 3-day chart to where you guys can see the temperature, the 72-hour wind speed, which I think is really awesome, cloud cover, precipitation, and then a 5-day overview as well. So, like you said, it's nice to have all those features in one spot. It's super quick and convenient, and you can literally soak this in when you get back to camp, look at it for 5 minutes before the morning, and kind of have a little bit of a detailed game plan for the morning based on the weather, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, and what we find both personally and just among our whole community is, those of us who are really serious about trying to be successful in, harvesting animals, we're checking this stuff before we go, days and weeks ahead of time. We're checking it up to the hour and even up to the minute. So, like, obviously, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are big game hunters and whitetail hunters. Wind is crucial for just about every decision we make. So with our hunt zone wind map, I'm checking it the night before to figure out what stand I'm going to go to. I'm checking it the morning I get up, and I'm checking it before I get out of the truck to even walk to a stand, because the last thing I want to do is go to all this effort to put this strategy together and then go in there and blow it on a whim because I'm going in under the wrong wind conditions. And for that matter, people like myself are also checking it while we're on the stand. So if we know that, hey, in 3 hours the wind is going to shift just enough that it might screw up this area for the foreseeable future, you're going to get out of there when you need to and either go home or move to a different spot where you're not going to be screwing things up. So it's a real-time tool. It's not just something you look at before you go. I mean, you're looking at it while you're out there and making real-time decisions.
Yeah, that's right, for sure. And that makes it neat because you never know if you get out and you're like, hey, I'm going to stand B or stand A, and that weather's just changed enough or wind direction has changed enough that, like you said, as you're hopping out of the truck, you literally take you 15 seconds to look off the app and say, hey, I'm going to make a change of where I'm going today. And that is, like you alluded to earlier, that's the difference between being successful sometimes and not being. So what is one of the things you would say you go to the most on your profile, your app, that maybe your buddies don't use or your coworkers, but what's one of those niche things that you use the most, Josh, on this app?
Oh man, it's really hard to choose one thing. I definitely use the property info map layer a ton. Whether I'm going to be hunting public or private land, you have to know where your boundaries are, obviously, and that makes a huge difference to how you get in and out of places, and in terms of figuring out where you're going to spend your time or what doors you need to knock on, that sort of thing. So I use that property info a lot, but even down to smaller features, you can get really creative about how you use it. For instance, with our distance measurement tool, I can give you a great anecdote for that. So we have a distance measurement tool that allows you to go into the satellite map, and you can, you look at a satellite view of a property, and you might think you have a good idea of how big an area is, or maybe how far it is across a field or a meadow or something. But personally, I've bit myself in the ass several times where I get out there in the dark or something and I realize, man, this is a lot smaller or a lot bigger than I actually thought it was going to be. So, like with that distance measurement, turkey hunting, turkey season's coming up here. It's a great example. Let's say you're going to set up on what might be a good strut zone. Well, it's really great to know, is that field or that meadow 100 yards wide? Is it 200 yards wide? Is it 50 yards wide? If I'm shooting a 40, 50-yard turkey gun, or if I'm setting up with a bow and I need to be able to shoot real close distance, it helps you decide where exactly you're going to go set up out there if you're going out there for the first time and you're unfamiliar. And with that goes for a bow or a rifle. There's a big difference between whether it's 40 yards across that field or 60 yards. Are you going to be able to shoot the area that you want to be able to shoot when you go out there and set up? And, you can pull out your rangefinder in the dark and get some ranges, but it sure is nice to be able to go out there and say, okay, based on the wind conditions and the distance across this field and where I think the entrance and exit trails might be and that sort of thing, I want to be in that tree right there. So you can go out there and you can get where you need to be immediately without having to, get out there in the dark and start sweating and second-guessing yourself.
Yeah, that's really cool feature for sure. Now, I know you mentioned the property info, Josh, so I know that, like, what I'm looking at right now, that's labeled premium. So give me the kind of the rundown on those features inside the app that are included with that premium feature in Huntstand.
Yeah, so we released Huntstand Pro last fall, and that gives you a bunch of different upgraded features that you can tap into beyond the free version. And the cool part about Huntstand Pro is you get the property info, you get a public lands layer, you get 3D mapping, several other features with different map layers and whatnot, but it's only $25 a year for the entire country, all 50 states. And some of your listeners might be familiar with some of our competitors, and we are priced the lowest without compromising on the quality of our information and the depth of our information. So we've got a pretty kick-ass development team that has found ways to allow us to be able to offer it at $25 a year and still be able to run a business. And the main benefactor is our user base. So with Huntstand Pro, I think the number one, be able to go in, you're going to be able to see property lines for all 50 states. You're going to be able to see landowner information, and obviously that's going to allow you to make sure that you're not accidentally crossing the wrong fence, or in the other case, you're knocking on the right door to get permission from somebody. Even though it's 2020 and maybe some folks have tightened their belts on letting me on their properties, I can tell you that every year I knock on a handful of doors that pan out. So it's still worthwhile for sure.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, knowing the property markers, and what's huge too is, like you just said about walking up to somebody's door, it's huge just to be able to go up to somebody and present yourself in the way that you can say, hey, Mr. Williams. Like, it's giving you that last name, so you can almost break the ice a little bit in that manner, which is pretty unique.
It's great. It is, just in my experiences, it has led to more success stories than I can count on two hands, for sure. I mean, I could just go down the list, but exactly what you said, being able to, I mean, you get some strange person coming up to your door who you've never seen before, especially if it's on a weekday or maybe in the morning or evening and it's a little dark outside. That can be intimidating for folks. So to be able to address them by name, or at least say, hey, are you Mr. Brown or whatever, versus just, hey, who are you? I mean, it's a great icebreaker. And so I love that feature. It's made my life a lot easier and been able to get on some animals because of it.
Yeah, no, it truly is, especially in a day and time now where we live in a no soliciting kind of environment, where we don't get those visitors up to our door anymore. So that's a big thing to me, is being able to address somebody with some sort of name, which I think is really cool. So one thing that I think is really cool with the app is you guys have so many layers, but just the option to kind of look at that property like we talked about earlier in the podcast through 3D is really something unique, and nobody else is doing it. So I think that feature alone is so huge, and kind of, like you said, it gives you the option to run through a property, kind of time out how long it could take you distance-wise to get there, how much elevation there is, how much change, and all that plays into, what we do. And this is a hunting app, and it's hunting, but it just is, man, that's a cool feature that just, I give you guys kudos, because nobody else is doing that. It's really pretty dang awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, we're proud of it, and I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to turkey season. I know I'll be using it a heck of a lot, even just trying to get on gobblers.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing too that I think is so cool is you guys have really made an app based on hunting, and it's not just a topo map or comparable to some of the competitors. Let's say like your guys' hunt zone feature, where you guys can kind of figure out the distance, the yardage between this part of the property and that part, and space things out like that. I think so unique, and not all of us are super techie, but it allows somebody to sit down and be that techie if they wanted to, and it's just a whole new world being able to use this app, and you could really dissect a piece of property, like probably right down to something crazy, I would bet, feature-wise.
Yeah, and that's I can't stress enough, like I mentioned before, you can use it, you can go in depth as you want to. And so if you want to just get a forecast, or if you only want to look at a quick map view, you can do that. But if you want to save all your trail camera images and be able to look at them in the app and start figuring out how to pattern animals based on just different environmental conditions and time of day and what the moon phase is or whatever it might be. You can just continue to dive in as deep as you want, and you get what you give. So we're really happy to be able to help people with success. I mean, that's the most rewarding part of being a part of this whole deal. We actually do a success story series throughout the fall, where people are sending us, after they shoot a deer or whatever, they're sending us their success stories and their photos and talking about exactly how they used the app to make that work. And man, we've had some really incredible animals, especially last fall, that came in. One of them was just shy of being the new Kentucky State typical archery record, and that guy, he was just he like spoke the gospel about Huntstand and how much it made a difference for him.
That's cool.
To be able to hear that kind of stuff is just, that's what it's all about, man. We're doing this so that people can get out there and make the most of their time, because that's one thing that they're not making any more of, time and land, I guess. And hopefully we can help you find land and use it to your advantage in the most efficient way you can with your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is neat. And like I said, that's what I was kind of getting at. I bet you there's guys like that guy in Kentucky that have just done stuff on this app that is kind of just mind-blowing and down to a legitimate science almost of figuring out how to hunt a piece of property, which is pretty awesome. But I know, Josh, one thing I wanted to ask you before I forget is, previously on the Scoutlook side, you guys had some really awesome videos, that content that went out to YouTube. Is that stuff going to stay? And if so, is it a new YouTube channel, so to speak, or what are we looking for? Me personally, I enjoyed that content a ton, so I'm kind of asking for myself, but I think everybody else would be interested too.
No, I really appreciate that you asked that question, because that's frankly, that's my main responsibility here at Huntstand, is our content development, and that's my background. That's what I've done for years. I still continue to do a lot of freelance writing and content creation for magazines and stuff, but here, my full-time gig at Huntstand, the biggest chunk of that is the content. So the answer is yes. We're going to continue to put out a lot of content, and we try to put out only high-quality stuff, whether it's gear roundups, just giving people the lowdown on new products out there to help them, start planning purchasing decisions, or more in-depth information about gear that we actually use ourselves. Our bow and broadhead test, I think, would be of particular interest to your listeners. Our executive editor, his name is Mark Melitik. He's an industry veteran. He was editor-in-chief of Bow Hunting World Magazine and Archery Business for about a decade, and he does an annual bow and broadhead test, 2 different tests, where he gets together the flagship bows from all the major manufacturers and the new broadheads from the major manufacturers, and he does a completely objective, unbiased, legitimate field test of all those bows and broadheads, and publishes the results as they come in through videos, both on our website and our YouTube channel, which now is Huntstand. So it's youtube.com/Huntstand. That's where you'll find our channel. Subscribe, please. We've got about 40,000 subscribers now, but that's a great place for you to tap into our video content. And those bow and broadhead tests are the real deal. Mark spends weeks going through with a fine-tooth comb, testing those products, because we want to, you go drop $1,000 on a bow. For some people that might not be much, but for a lot of us, that's a big investment. And so just like how we like to provide tools for you to hunt more efficiently with our app, we want you to be spending your money in a smart way too. So hopefully those of you who have seen all that have learned to trust that we are providing legit info and legit opinions on things that we're actually running through the paces, and we take a lot of pride in that. So thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, I've always appreciate those. I thought they're, very direct and to the point, very unbiased, and it was let the winner be the winner type of stuff. And you could tell that you guys added a scientific element to each of the tests. And so you weren't giving any freebies out to anybody, so to speak. And I just always appreciate that content and always look forward to seeing it when it popped up in my YouTube feed. So I'm super stoked that you guys are still doing it, and I'll definitely be looking forward to some more.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for helping us get the word out on that.
Absolutely. Josh, before we got to hop off here, do you have anything coming down the pipe for 2020 that the users should know about?
Well, we do have some exciting features in the works, and unfortunately, as you could guess, I can't talk about it. I'd love to get back on once that stuff is out, and give people the insider lowdown on what it is and how it all works. But until then, I guess if people want to become an app user for Android or iOS, Google Play or the App Store, or create an account at huntstand.com. Follow us on Facebook at Huntstand, Instagram at Huntstand, YouTube at Huntstand. Those are great places for you to stay up to date with everything that we do have coming down the pike. And I will say that we do have a really cool, massive sweepstakes that we're going to be running this year, where we're going to be giving away a pile of really good stuff to our user community. And some people are into that sort of thing, some people aren't. But I can tell you, anytime that we end up letting somebody know that they won something, they're pretty happy. I just talked to a guy a few weeks ago who won a outfitted pheasant hunt and a new shotgun from us, and he was stoked. So I encourage anybody who's interested to make sure to keep an eye on that and enter to win, because there's going to be some really nice stuff in there that you might not want to drop the coin on yourself, but we're going to be giving it away.
Yeah, you can't beat that. It's always nice to be involved in some giveaways, and it's always fun to get something that potentially you, like you said, are saving quite a bit for, and having a hard time buying, and then you could end up winning it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's pretty awesome feature that you guys are doing. So excited to see what you guys do in the future, and I know that we covered what I feel like is a lot today, and excited to do it again with you down the road, Josh, and appreciate your time today.
Likewise. Have a good turkey season, and hopefully we'll get to reconnect here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, please stay on the line, and then for the rest of you guys, we will see you next week. Outdoor Podcast channel, Unfiltered Outdoor app, and right here on iTunes. So we'll see you guys again real soon.